You had stopped pretending by now, stopped caring how people looked at you, how they whispered, how your father sighed every time you opened your mouth. One evening, your father invited you and Jungkook for dinner. Dinner at your parents' house was supposed to be pleasant, a family gathering, a chance, your father said, to show that everything is fine. Fine? The word itself made you want to laugh. You sat across from him, picking at your food, your face blank, but your silence loud. Jungkook sat beside you, expression calm, answering politely when your stepmother asked questions, forcing a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. Your father cleared his throat. Wine, you could at least try to behave. They are asking about your new life. People are watching, you understand? You looked up, meeting his eyes. If you wanted a puppet, you should have bought one, not married me off. The table went silent. Your stepmother set her spoon down, awkwardly forcing a smile. Sweetheart? No, you interrupted, leaning back in your chair. You all keep saying this is for my future. Funny, because I don't see my future anywhere in this room. Enough. Your father's voice was sharp, but you only shrugged. Jungkook reached for your hand under the table, not in affection but in a quiet plea to stop. You pulled it away instantly. The rest of dinner passed in painful silence. When it finally ended, you didn't even wait for dessert. You stood up muttering, I'm done, and walked straight to the car. Jungkook followed after a moment, jaw tight, the weight of your rebellion heavy in his silence. The night outside was cool, the roads empty, the city lights passing like broken memories. He was driving, his knuckles white around the steering wheel. You stared out of the window, your reflection in the glass as cold as your tone. When will you stop this? He asked finally, voice low but strained. You turn your head, eyes narrowing. Stop what? This, he said, gesturing vaguely, frustration slipping through his calm. This bitterness, the constant fighting, acting like every word I say deserves your hate. You let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Maybe when you divorce me? He turned sharply to look at you, disbelief flashing in his eyes. Fine, he said after a moment, voice quiet but firm. But first, you'll hear the truth. Then you can decide if you still want that. You frowned, confused, but he pulled the car over to the side of the empty road. The engine hummed, headlights cutting through the darkness. He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a small flash drive and a few printed papers, old screenshots, messages, records. He handed them to you. You want to know the truth, right? Then look at these. I didn't date Nancy because I wanted to. She blackmailed me. You blinked, your fingers trembling as you stared at the drive. Blackmailed you? For what? You clearly didn't trust his words. She recorded you in the changing room after the sports day. Said if I didn't date her, she would upload it and destroy your life. I agreed because I didn't want you to find out what your best friend was capable of. I thought I would get proof, delete everything, and then tell you everything once it was safe. But she? He paused, swallowing hard. She got caught in her own guilt before I could. Your heart thudded painfully. What do you mean? She didn't die in an accident. She took her own life. The words hit like a physical blow. The world outside the car blurred, your breath catching. She left a note. Jungkook said, sliding a folded paper across the dashboard. It was in her handwriting. She said she couldn't live with what she did to you, that pretending to be your friend while hurting you broke her in ways she couldn't fix. He stared at the paper but didn't touch it. The headlights from another car flashed briefly through the window, glinting off your tears. She was going to expose herself. I didn't stop her. Maybe I should have. Maybe I could have done something. But I thought you deserved to know her truth, not my excuses. You sat there frozen, pain, disbelief, betrayal, grief all tangling inside you until you couldn't tell one from the other. When you finally spoke, your voice was barely a whisper. So, all this time? You let me hate you. He looked at you while his eyes were heavy. It was easier than letting you hate yourself for trusting her. Silence stretched between you, fragile, trembling. You turn away, staring out at the dark road again, your reflection shimmering faintly in the window. I don't know if I can forgive you, he said quietly, not for what you did, but for what you didn't tell me. He nodded slowly. I'm not asking you to. The car stayed still, neither of you moving, both trapped between past and present, between the truth that finally came out and the wounds it couldn't heal. The silence in the car became unbearable. You couldn't breathe, couldn't sit there and look at him anymore. So you opened the door and stepped out into the cold rain. It hit your face hard, soaking through your clothes in seconds. But you didn't care. The world around you blurred into streaks of water and city lights. You heard the car door slam shut behind you. Why? Jungkook's voice came through the downpour. Get back in the car. You kept walking down the side of the road, arms wrapped around yourself, your tears mixing with the rain. He caught up in a few seconds, grabbing your wrist. Are you crazy? He shouted, his voice echoing in the empty street. You'll get sick. You jerked your hand free. Then let me. The words sliced through the storm, sharp, bitter, trembling. You turn to him, eyes wild and shining. You think you can just tell me all that and expect me to act like nothing happened? You lied, Jungkook. You let me hate you. You made me the villain in my own story. I didn't want to. You think it was easy for me to stand there and watch you look at me like I ruined your life? His voice cracked. Then why didn't you tell me the truth? You demanded. Why did you let me drown in my own anger? He exhaled sharply, stepping closer until the rain fell between you like a curtain. Because I was afraid, afraid that if you knew everything, you would hate yourself. You would blame yourself for trusting her, for not seeing what she was doing. I didn't want you to carry that guilt. I would rather carry your hate than see you destroy yourself. You stared at him, rain dripping from your lashes, chest heaving. You don't get to decide what I can handle. You whispered, his eyes softened. For a second, the same warmth you used to know flickered there. You are right, but I couldn't lose you. Not then. Not when everything around us was already falling apart. You laughed bitterly, and now look what we are, falling apart anyway. He stepped closer again. You could feel his breath now, warm despite the cold. Maybe, but at least now it's honest. You swallowed hard, wanting to hate him, to scream, to walk away and never turn back, but something in his voice stopped you, that quiet, desperate sincerity that had always been your weakness. Ryan, he said softly, you can leave me if you want. You can hate me, curse me, never forgive me, but don't ever think I didn't love you. Everything I did, the lies, the silence, it was to protect you, even if it cost me you. The rain fell harder, your heart ached worse. You didn't say a word, you just looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in months, the cold wall between you cracked. You could see it now, the exhaustion in his eyes, the loneliness, the weight he had been carrying, and you hated that it made your chest ache. You turned away, whispering, I need time. He nodded slowly, his voice barely a breath. Take all you need, I'll be here. You started walking back to the car, and for a long while neither of you spoke. Only the rain did, loud, endless, and cruelly honest. The rain had stopped, but the silence between you and Jungkook was louder than the thunder ever was. You sat on the couch, your hands trembling around the envelope he had given you, the proof he mentioned in the car. Your name was written on it in her handwriting. Nancy's handwriting, your chest tightened. For years, that name had been both a wound and a memory. Your best friend, your sister in every way that mattered, the girl you trusted more than anyone else. And now her ghost was sitting between you, written in ink that refused to fade. A memory flashed in front of your eyes. Your fingers clenched around your phone as you stood outside the cafe. You could see her through the glass. Nancy, laughing, her hand brushing Jungkook's arm, as if she had every right to touch him like that. Your stomach twisted. You didn't want to believe it. You couldn't believe it. But when she noticed you standing there, her laughter faltered. Her eyes met yours, wide for a second, then unreadable. She whispered something to Jungkook, stood up, and walked toward the door. The bell chimed as she stepped outside. Ryan, she began softly, but you didn't let her finish. Since when? Your voice came out smaller than you meant, shaky but edged with anger. Since when, Nancy? She blinked, then sighed as if you were the one being unreasonable. Since last week, she said casually. He asked me out after class. You stared at her, disbelief tightening your chest. He did? You were shocked because you never saw him even looking at her that way. She smiled, almost pitying. You look like you have seen a ghost. Are you serious right now? You knew I liked him. You knew everything, Nancy. Every stupid little detail about how I felt. You promised you would never. Oh, come on, Ryan. She interrupted with a small laugh. You liked him, that's all. Crushes come and go. It's not like you ever told him, right? You stepped back, shaking your head. That doesn't make it okay. Why not? She said, folding her arms. You were never going to tell him anyway, and honestly, are you jealous? Her voice turned sharp, mocking. You should be happy for me. You always said I deserved someone good. Isn't Jungkook good enough? Your throat burned. This isn't about jealousy. It's about you. You knew what it meant to me. You are really unbelievable sometimes, Ryan. You froze. Her next words felt like a slap. You are so selfish. You always want everything for yourself, the attention, the sympathy, even him. You think the world revolves around your little feelings? Turned to her stunned. What did you just say? Nancy stepped closer, her expression cold, nothing like the girl who used to braid your hair and cry with you during bad days. You always fight with him, always act like he's the problem, and now that he has finally chosen me, you can't stand it, can you? You are just insecure. Your heart thudded painfully in your chest. I'm insecure because I care about him, because I trusted you. She laughed, a bitter, heartless sound. No, you are insecure because you hate losing. Admitted, you never wanted him until you realized someone else could have him. Tears blurred your vision, but you didn't let them fall. You just stared at her, the stranger wearing your best friend's face. You know what's funny? You whispered. I thought I would lose him someday, but I never thought I would lose you first. For a second, something flickered in her eyes, guilt maybe, but it was gone as fast as it came. She crossed her arms, looking away. Then maybe you should stop pretending you are the victim. People move on, Ryan, even him. You took a shaky breath, nodding slowly. Yeah, you said softly, voice breaking. And now I finally will too. She walked away before she could say another word, but her words stayed, sharp, cruel, echoing, long after she was gone. You didn't look back, you just walked, away from her, away from that friendship, away from the piece of your heart that still believed she had never hurt you. The memory vanished as fast as it came, leaving you breathless. You stared at the letter again, tears spilling silently down your face. The truth hit differently now because you finally realized that day you lost Nancy. You didn't just lost your best friend, you lost the girl who believed in love and Jungkook. He had carried the weight of that same loss all along. Jungkook's soft voice brought you back in reality. Read it. You looked at him for a minute and then tore it open. Inside was a folded letter and a small flash drive. The paper smelled faintly of perfume, her perfume. The words blurred before you even began. If you are reading this, it means I didn't get the chance to fix what I destroyed. I was jealous of you, always was. You had everything, your father's love, friends who admired you, dreams people believed in, and me, I was always your shadow. So when I realized you like Jungkook, I wanted to prove I could take something from you, just once. I made him the villain because I could, because he cared enough to fall for you, and I couldn't stand it. Couldn't breathe, the words stung like poison. Jungkook sat across from you, his hands clenched, his eyes fixed on the floor. You kept reading, voice trembling. He didn't cheat you, he didn't betray you. I did. I cornered him with something he couldn't refuse, a video of you I took that night at the pool. I told him if he didn't date me, I would leak it. He tried to stop me, begged me to delete it, said you didn't deserve this, but I was too far gone. He only stayed with me long enough to get it back, and when he did, he didn't even tell you. He just deleted it and left. The letter slipped from your hand, the flash drive fell onto the floor. You stare at it, your reflection glimmering faintly in the metal. A girl you didn't recognize. All this time you thought he was the cruel one, the liar, the one who ruined your friendship. But it was her, the girl who once held your secrets, your tears, your laughter. She was the one who had twisted everything. Your voice came out hoarse. She wanted me to hate you. Jungkook finally looked at you, his eyes red, wet, tired. And she succeeded. Your breath hitched. You wanted to speak, to scream, to apologize, to collapse, but nothing came out. He continued quietly. When she when she took her own life, I didn't tell you the truth because you still wore her friendship like armor. You would have broken if you knew how dark it really was. You shook your head. You should have told me. I know. His voice cracked, but I couldn't watch you lose both of us at once. Silence fell again, heavier this time. Your tears slipped free, hot, unstoppable. She destroyed everything, my friendship, my trust, my love, and me. He whispered. You looked up startled. She destroyed me too, he said softly, because I let her make you hate me. He stood slowly, stepping toward you, hesitating when he was close enough to touch. You deserved the truth, even if it makes you hate me all over again. You stared at him, the man who had once been your enemy, your secret crush, your supposed betrayal, and now the man who had quietly carried your shame and your pain like it was his own burden. Your lips trembled. I don't even know who to blame anymore. He smiled sadly. Neither do I. For a long moment, you just sat there, your hands clutching the letter, your heart heavy, your mind replaying every year of hate that suddenly felt like a lie. You didn't know if you were the one who deserved to apologize or forgive him. You couldn't, but for the first time, your anger wasn't the loudest thing in the room. Your silence was, and somewhere beneath that, buried deep and trembling, was grief. Grieve for her, for yourself, for the years you lost to a lie. The next few days passed like a blur, quite heavy yet strangely peaceful. You still hadn't said much to Jungkook since that night, but the air between you was different now. It wasn't sharp anymore, it was soft, like the ache that comes after crying too long. You woke up one morning to find a tray beside your bed, breakfast, perfectly arranged, still warm, next to it a small note in his handwriting. You didn't eat dinner last night. Please don't skip breakfast too. You stared at the note for a long time. That single line made something in your chest twist painfully, beautifully. You went downstairs later and found him in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, fixing coffee. He looked up when you entered, hesitating, almost unsure whether to smile or not. Morning, he said softly. You nodded. Morning. It felt strange, civil, almost gentle. He handed you your cup, fingers brushing yours for the first time in what felt like forever. You didn't pull away, neither did he. For a moment, silence stretched between you. Not uncomfortable this time, just fragile. Are you okay? He asked, finally breaking it. You stared down at the dark coffee, the reflection of his face in it. I don't know, you whispered. I feel like I've been angry for so long that I forgot what it's like to just breathe. He nodded slowly. Then let's start there. Just breathe. Something about the way he said it, calm, patient, almost protective, made your throat tighten. You didn't say it out loud, but you wanted to thank him. That evening, your father invited both of you for dinner again. This time, you didn't protest. Your stepmother smiled the moment she saw you both walk in together. Look at you two, she said. You're finally looking like a real couple. You forced a small smile, but your father noticed. He always did. The quiet between you and Jungkook wasn't tense anymore. It had softened into something that almost resembled comfort. Throughout dinner, he kept small gestures unnoticed by others, pulling your chair gently, filling your glass before his own, whispering to ask if you wanted more of something. You didn't say much, but each small act touched a part of you that had forgotten what kindness felt like. Your father smiled, looking at both of you. I'm glad you two are trying, he said warmly. You looked up at Jungkook. He was already looking at you, and for a second it felt like the entire room disappeared. When you returned home, you stood by the door, shoes still on, heart racing. He looked at you quietly. You don't have to pretend anymore, he said softly, even if you are just trying for them. You shook your head. It's not for them. He looked surprised. Then why? You met his eyes, calm, honest. Because maybe I'm tired of fighting you. A slow smile touched his lips, faint but real. Then let me make it easier to stop, he whispered. You didn't reply, but you didn't move away when he stepped closer either. The distance between you finally vanished, not with words, but with silence that meant more than any apology ever could. Outside it started raining again, but this time it didn't sound like a storm. It sounded like peace, and for the first time in years, your heart didn't feel like a battlefield anymore. It felt like home. Slow, fragile, healing.